These are Sudan's forgotten people, over 2 million of them, displaced by 20 years of war in the south, and many now living in sprawling camps on the outskirts of Khartoum. El Salam camp is known to those who live in it as Jabarono, or he who is forced against his will. Once a temporary camp, El Salam has become a shanty town, all but abandoned by aid organisations now deployed in Sudan's newest conflict, Darfur. Sulwa came here as a child. Her mother did not expect her to be here still as a woman.
We were escaping from the war. We thought we'd go back as soon as the fighting stopped.
Camps like El Salam are Sudan's hidden tragedy. Almost constant internal conflict since independence has left the country with the highest number of displaced people in the world.
Life is a bit quite difficult here because opportunities for employment are really very rare here. No income generating activities run over here. Basically no economic activity in this area here, so life is really a bit difficult.
But the refugee cities outside Khartoum are shrinking. About 100,000 people have left in the 5 months since the signing of peace protocols to end the war in the south. A government redevelopment project has razed much of El Salam camp, making way for residential plots with electricity and running water. These houses marked with white crosses for demolition, but most residents can't afford the $45 to register. They fear that now peace is within sight, the government is forcing them out, driving them back south.
We feel that much of this demolitions is actually a way of encouraging people who are not ready to move, and we of course would be opposed to forced movement of people in any circumstances.
Sulwa works as a teacher, but her family can't afford to buy a plot. Originally from the Nuba Mountains in central Sudan, her father has gone back to see if it's safe to return.
Since I arrived here, I've wanted to go home, back to where I came from, because life here compared to life there is very different. The way we lived there was much better than the way we live here.
In the 1990s, Nuba was the front line of the southern war, the scene of a brutal campaign of ethnic cleansing waged under the banner of jihad by the Islamic fundamentalist government of President Omar al-Bashir. He was back in Nuba last week to celebrate the peace deal with local chiefs, a deal which will leave Nuba outside the agreed autonomous zone in the south. A jubilant president promising peace would bring oil wealth and development to the mountainous region. However, this is the reality. Destroyed villages, just like those in Darfur, abandoned by their inhabitants fleeing war and government bombs. Resettlement talks are underway, but as yet there's little aid in Nuba, and with the Naivasha peace accords not yet ratified, no cast iron guarantees of security.
We have no trust, we have no confidence in the current leadership. Since the war in the south started, we heard about a peace process going on. But before the peace agreement was signed, we heard about another war breaking out in Darfur. This makes people lose their trust.
Khartoum's war with the south is Africa's longest war. More than 2 million people have died, the equivalent of Darfur happening every 6 months for 20 years. Its victims are still living in the camps, still for the most part too scared to return home. Their fate a premonition of what could happen to those displaced in Darfur.